Hummingbirds look like they were never supposed to survive in the real world. Tiny bodies hovering in midair, wings moving so fast they blur into invisibility, colors flashing across their feathers like light, reflecting off broken glass. From a distance, they almost seem peaceful, weightless, effortless. But that illusion falls apart the second you understand what their lives are actually like, because hummingbirds are not living calmly. They're racing against starvation almost every hour of every day. Their hearts can beat more than 1,200 times per minute. Their wings may flap over 50 times every second. And all that movement burns energy at a pace so extreme that a hummingbird can begin dying shockingly fast if it stops eating for too long. Not after weeks, not after days, hours. That's what makes these birds feel almost impossible. A creature small enough to fit in your hand somehow lives inside one of the most demanding biological systems in nature. Every second costs energy. Hovering costs energy. Flying costs energy. Staying warm costs energy. Even sleeping can become dangerous. And the terrifying part is that the hummingbird never really gets a break from any of it. The moment morning arrives, the feeding begins immediately. Flower after flower, minute after minute. Tiny tongues flicking deep into blossoms while the bird burns through the sugar almost as fast as it consumes it. Some species need food every 10 to 15 minutes just to avoid running too low on energy. Imagine waking up every day already late for survival. That's basically the hummingbird's entire existence. And things get much worse when food becomes difficult to find. A sudden storm can wipe out feeding opportunities almost instantly. Heavy rain traps hummingbirds in trees while their bodies continue burning energy the entire time. Strong winds can make hovering nearly impossible. Cold weather becomes even worse because these birds lose heat incredibly fast, which means a tiny bird weighing less than a few coins may suddenly find itself trapped in freezing rain while slowly running out of fuel. And once the energy starts dropping too low, the situation turns desperate very quickly. Because hummingbirds don't have large reserves of fat like bigger animals do. They live dangerously close to empty most of the time. Some species consume nearly twice their body weight in nectar every single day just to stay alive. That sounds absurd until you realize what their bodies are doing nonstop behind the scenes. Their entire existence is basically controlled panic disguised as beauty. And then night arrives. The flowers close. The temperature drops. Darkness spreads through the trees while the last bits of energy inside the bird start disappearing hour by hour. This is where the hummingbird's life stops feeling beautiful and starts feeling horrifying. Because under the wrong conditions, a single cold night can kill one before sunrise. That's not an exaggeration. A hummingbird that fails to eat enough before nightfall may simply run out of energy while sleeping. The body cools down, movement slows. The tiny heart that spent all day racing suddenly doesn't have enough fuel left to keep going. Imagine surviving an entire day only to lose the fight while resting. Nature solved this problem in the strangest way possible. Instead of sleeping normally, many hummingbirds enter a state called torpor, a survival mechanism so extreme it looks disturbingly close to death itself. The bird's body begins shutting down almost immediately. Heart rate collapses. Body temperature plummets. Breathing slows dramatically. Some hummingbirds become so cold and motionless they appear completely lifeless, hanging from branches in the dark, and for hours, they stay like that. Tiny frozen shapes suspended in silence while cold air moves through the forest around them. Not fully alive, not fully gone either, just surviving at the absolute edge of biological failure. And honestly, this might be the most terrifying thing about hummingbirds. The animal people associate with beauty and elegance survives every night by temporarily becoming something that barely resembles a living creature at all. But somehow, morning arrives. Slowly, the body begins warming back up. The heart accelerates again. Muscles reactivate. Wings begin vibrating faster and faster until suddenly the bird launches back into the air like nothing happened. Then the cycle starts all over again. Feed, burn energy, search for flowers, avoid starvation, survive the cold. Repeat every single day. And somehow animals living under this much biological pressure still attempt things that sound completely impossible. Migration. Some hummingbirds travel thousands of miles across brutal weather systems during migration seasons. Tiny bodies weighing less than a battery crossing massive distances through wind, rain, exhaustion, and open water. One species, the ruby-throated hummingbee. No trees, no flowers, no second chances, just endless water beneath something already living close to starvation. And storms make everything worse. Strong winds can throw hummingbirds violently through the air. Heavy rain soaks feathers and drains body heat even faster. Some birds become trapped during bad weather, unable to feed, while their bodies continue consuming energy at terrifying speed. For a larger animal, a storm is dangerous. For a hummingbird, it can become a countdown toward collapse, which makes the entire species start feeling tragic in a completely different way. Because everything humans admire about hummingbirds comes directly from the same biology slowly exhausting them. The hovering flight looks magical because their muscles are working at insane intensity. The shimmering feathers exist on bodies, burning through energy almost nonstop. The speed, the movement, the impossible agility, all of it comes from survival systems operating dangerously close to their limits every single day. Their beauty is built on desperation. And maybe that's why hummingbirds feel so unreal when you finally understand them. Not because they're fragile, not because they're cute, but because something so tiny somehow survives a life this brutally demanding it all. Every sunrise means the hummingbird escapes starvation one more time. And every sunset starts the fight all over again. And honestly, the strangest part is that most people will never realize any of this is happening. To us, hummingbirds look peaceful, beautiful, almost magical. We see them for a few seconds near flowers and assume their lives must feel just as gentle. But behind that beauty is an animal surviving one of the most exhausting lifestyles in nature. And to be fair, not every hummingbird is constantly moments away from death exactly the same way. Different species survive in different environments, and many are incredibly well adapted to the places they live. But the energy demands they face are very real, especially during cold nights, storms, migration, or food shortages, which honestly makes them even more impressive. Because despite how fragile they look, these birds survive conditions that sound almost impossible for something so small. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more unbelievable survival stories from nature. And let me know in the comments. What animal do you think lives the most exhausting life on Earth? Because after learning how hummingbirds survive, they have to be near the top.